Well, hey, how you doing? John Harris here. And this time of year, Christmas time, and Thanksgiving, I guess too, is a time where you see family, you gather together, and many times you think about those who are no longer here. Maybe you've lost a loved one this past year, or maybe it's been a few years, but you just notice their absence, and you just think about your life. You think about the young ones that are around you and how taken with the season they are, and how everything is great, possibilities and presents and all those things. They're just excited for the season. And we should be excited too, because Christmas is all about Jesus. It is a cliche, but Jesus is the reason for the season. And as we think about those things that are close to our heart, and as we think about those things that are most important, I think it's a good time to just kind of take stock in our own life and say, have I put priority on the things that are most important? So what does God say about what is most important for us? And by us, I mean followers of Jesus Christ. Are you a Christian? If so, what are we supposed to be doing with our lives? What is our mission in this world? What is it that we should be allowing God to accomplish through us? Recently we have been following God's will, and we have been in a position of stepping out on faith and trusting in the Lord. And when you are in a position to do that, in reality, we do that every day, but sometimes it's more obvious than others. So we were recently in a place of packing things up and moving and leaving friends and people that have really come to be very close to us. And so I was thinking about, as you're pulling out the driveway, the last time you got the truck all loaded up, you got your car on the car dolly, and you're ready to go. Everything is done, the house is cleaned out, and you're about to head down the road. So when you do that, you want to say something profound. You want to say something meaningful as you leave, And so, of course, you get together and you tell your friends, goodbye. You tell them how much you care about them, and hopefully, as we did, you get together and you pray together and ask God to bless as He sends you out. And so as we were leaving, I was just reminded of Jesus. Whenever He was leaving His disciples, He had some very important words for them. And so that's what we call the Great Commission. It's a time where Jesus was leaving. He knew that He was going to be away from His friends, away from His followers for a long time. And so He wanted to instill in them what was important. What was the most important thing? What was the thing that they were supposed to be about, that they were supposed to be doing? And so we read through history, through their eyes. We read over their shoulder, and so too, it's what we're supposed to be about. It's what every Christian is supposed to be doing. So over the next few videos, I'd like to look at, what does the Bible say? What does Jesus say for us that we're supposed to be doing? The Great Commission. So if you look in Matthew chapter 28, and if you have a Bible, you can be turning there. And if you look beginning in verse 16, I just kind of want to take it about a verse at a time and just look at what was going on in the situation so that we can place this in context and see what it really means. What did Jesus say to His followers? And so what would He be saying to us? The most important thing, like He's got everything packed up and He's heading back to heaven. He's heading back to the throne at the right hand of the Father. And one day He's going to return. One day He's going to be back. But in the meantime, He has something for us to do to prepare the world for His return. That He's going to be with us, that He's going to empower us, that He's going to do, but He's going to do it through us. So we need to be diligent to do what He has called us to do. So if you look in Matthew chapter 28, beginning in verse 16, it says that the 11 disciples left for Galilee, going to the mountain where Jesus had told them to go. So it's the 11 disciples. We know that Judas, unfortunately, he betrayed Jesus. And it's not as though he was the only disciple who did that. Peter himself even denied Jesus, betrayed Jesus 3 times. But the difference comes later when Jesus offers forgiveness. Peter received it. Judas, however, did not receive any forgiveness from Jesus. Judas went to despair. So whenever you don't do what you're supposed to do, whenever you do what you're not supposed to do, when you feel like you've betrayed God, when you feel like you have turned away, turn back and accept Jesus' forgiveness. Really, in a lot of ways, the only difference between Judas and Peter is that Judas accepted Jesus' forgiveness. Or Peter accepted Jesus' forgiveness, and Judas did not. So be like Peter, not like Judas. They both betrayed Jesus. They both fell short. They both were not good enough on their own. But Peter accepted the forgiveness of Jesus and went on to be a pillar in the church, to be used by God in a mighty way. He would go on in Acts chapter 2 to preach, and 3,000 people would get saved. That's who we need to be. So these 11 disciples who were left, the 11 who would allow Jesus to forgive them and use them for the kingdom. They left for Galilee. This was a familiar place. Galilee was the place where Jesus had been ministering his entire time with his disciples. And so the 11 disciples left for Galilee, going to the mountain where Jesus had told them to go. I think that's profound. They went to the mountain. They didn't just say, well, God's everywhere. I can encounter God sitting in my bass boat. I can encounter God on the golf course. I can encounter God folding laundry at home. I can encounter God alone together at my house with my family. I can encounter God anywhere. I don't have to go anywhere special. Yet Jesus had told them a place to go. Jesus had told them something to do. And that we'll see in these next few verses is that they encountered the Lord Jesus. They got to receive instruction from him and to know what it is that they were supposed to do. And by virtue of the fact that this is written down, we too know what we're supposed to do as a result. Now, if they hadn't done that, would Jesus had reached out to them in a different way? Perhaps. Would Jesus had communicated the Great Commission, I think, in some other way? Sure. But this is what he did. He told his disciples what to do, and he counted on them being faithful to do it in order to give them further instruction, in order to have his mission accomplished in the world. And it still works the same way. We are told so much to do in the scriptures. We are told that we are to gather together with fellow believers. We are told that we should be faithful in giving generously, not out of compulsion, but out of an overflow of our heart. We are told that we need to tell other people about Jesus Christ, the gospel. And yet, when we put other things ahead of those things, we undercut what God wants to do for us. We undercut him communicating his purpose, his mission, his direction for our lives. Maybe there's someone at church this coming Sunday that needs to have a smile or a kind word from you, but you might decide to go fishing or hunting or go run some errands or fold some laundry or just spend some time with your family at home instead of going to church. Now, those other things aren't bad things, but when we don't follow what Jesus has told us to do, we put ourselves in a position of undercutting the Great Commission that he's called us to do. Now, we know that we are, just to skip ahead a few verses, and we'll get there, but we know that we're supposed to go and to make disciples. We know that we're supposed to see that people are baptized. And how do you do that without being part of a church? We know that we're supposed to go into all the earth and to make disciples of every nation. How are you going to do that without partnering with a group of believers? See, the 11 disciples, they left for Galilee, going to the mountain where Jesus had told them to go. The first step in accomplishing the Great Commission is to do what Jesus tells us to do. To love God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love our neighbor as ourselves. To gather together with fellow believers, encourage one another, lift up one another, build up the church together in love, we're told to do. That's step one of accomplishing the Great Commission. So I want to encourage you, first and foremost, make sure that in your life you're putting first those things that Jesus has told us to do. And we know what those things are from his word. We can find them in the Bible pretty readily. You just read through the life of Jesus in the Gospels, and he tells us many things to do. You read through the letters written by Paul and Peter and James and the rest. You read the revelation of Jesus Christ, and we know what the church is supposed to be doing. We know in the church today, it's not so much that we don't know what we're supposed to be doing. It's just a matter of making a priority to do it. So let me encourage you, as you look around this Christmas season and you see the baby in the manger and the whole world seems to be more open to spiritual things, let me encourage you to do what Jesus has called you to do. That way you won't miss out on a blessing. You won't miss out on him telling you what the next step is. You won't miss out on those things that he has prepared in your life for you to do and equipped you to do and given you so that you can be part of what he's doing in this world. So God bless you. I hope this is encouraging and that we all together will help to accomplish the Great Commission. So stay tuned, and every couple of days I plan to put out another video so that we can together look through this Great Commission, Matthew chapter 28, just the last few verses of this chapter where Jesus tells us the most important thing. May God be with you in this Christmas season.